Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Jeff.
It is Monday in the rib after a exciting weekend, and we have finally got a warm day. But I don't know.
Yeah,
We want
for
to start
now.
with. You want to
Yeah,
start?
enjoy it for today.
Huh?
Enjoy it for today. It's going to rain tomorrow.
I know, but at least it's going to be
Mhm.
warm. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the savior of Fall River, the tea, and the latest boondoggle in the tea. Huh?
5 hour delays.
5 hour delay. That's right. It is.
And you know why? They don't have the staff to run it.
Ah,
Hey,
Yeah,
yeah.
Polo. Hey,
I'm
Polo,
looking at
you're
the
playing
article.
with
I'm looking at the
fire.
article right now. A crew availability issue. Uh, Massachusetts Bay Transit canceled multiple lines from South Station. So South Station, there must have been hundreds of people. They said are packed in there. Well, listen. Do you remember the song by the Kingston Trio? I forgot the name of it. To show you
Yeah.
how screwed up, they said this was going to save
Oh,
the
he'll
city.
never return. No,
He'll never return. He's trapped beneath the streets of Boston on the MBTA.
He's the
That,
man
that
who'll never return.
I can't remember the name of that song, but I think that song
The
came
man
out in
who'll
the
never return.
1950s.
The man who'll never return.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that song came out in the 1950s.
Yes,
Here
it
we
did.
are, 75 years later. The freaking tea's still a mess. Yeah, he'll never return.
Yeah.
That's it. Charlie, Jimmy Gale says,
Jimmy Cahill.
Charlie
Thank
on
you.
the MBTA. That's right. Neath the streets of Boston. Listen, this is a fiasco. I mean, these people are the biggest con artists in the world. Everybody in the state except the people and they sold this thing down here to these people to think that this is going to be a viable option to anything. It's not even viable in the Boston area. It's absurd. But this is what they do. I started with this intentionally because the next thing that they did was wait a minute, let me get to it here. Again, they're using their propaganda to sow a con. So let's see. Carol Fiola. Great to have the Executive Office of Economic Development Secretary Yvonne Howe and Undersecretary Ashley Stobler visit with Senator Michael Roderick, Representative Stephen J. Willett, State Representative Alan Silver, and Mayor Paul Coogan, CDA Director Mike Dion, Sarah Page from the Fall River Redevelopment to meet and tour the Flint neighborhood. There was only one problem. They didn't inform the Flint Neighborhood Association.
Of course.
Again.
Nope.
Again. You know why? You know where this is going? The same way they tour. You know why they're touring? And they're making Coogan and they're bringing all these clowns down like they always do? It's an election year.
That's right.
It's an election year. Listen, you're not going to fix the Flint with facades and politicians from Boston who, if they, I bet you they didn't take the T down. That's a sort of side.
Nope.
But you know something? This is BS, just like Prospect Street.
He thinks that the neighborhood association doesn't matter. No, you're right, Colin. We don't matter. Okay?
Yeah,
This is not the first time they've done this.
They will, of course, they were lied to. But you know who I name? I blame them because if you think these politicians are actually telling you the truth, listen, Colin and Nelson put on a great presentation. I went to it. They gave you 500 reasons why this was going to be the boondoggle that it is.
Exactly.
But nobody listened. Just like when we told them about the charter, just like we told them about the Durfee, they listened to the BS, the propaganda.
Yep.
This is what they do. and they got to get their heads out of their derrieres.
I found out, now that you brought up the charter real quick, do you realize that in Massachusetts general law, there is a provision for how many signatures are necessary for nominations? It is 1% of the voter turnout for the previous gubernatorial election. But it shall not exceed 50 signatures. I guess our charter is in violation of the law.
It is.
As always.
As usual. That's exactly right. As usual. As usual. Who can? And besides that, even if it was in perfect alignment with the law, if the law didn't fit Paul Coogan and the politicians, but this is what they do. They're marching across the Flint, pretending that just their mere presence is going to fix that neighborhood. Well, you know what's going to fix that neighborhood? Jobs. Donald Trump won by saying he's going to bring work back to the United States for the working man. Manufacturing communities in this city, in this nation, were disseminated by the Democrats, shipping jobs everywhere but the United States.
Like
Fall
NASA.
River was a viable city when we had what? Manufacturing. When the mills were running, we didn't have a lot of rich people, but we had a lot of working people with paychecks. Exactly. And this is the crap. They're gonna. I didn't even heard of that. Whatever the hell, an undersecretary, secretary of the undersecretary. You know, they march them all like they march at the heads of processions when a public safety officer is killed in a line of duty, but it's only a photo op for them. It's not real.
Right.
This is election year. Mayor Paul Coogan is going to look. What was it? A year ago, he painted the crosswalk at Eastern Avenue in Pleasant.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, yes. It was like a year ago. Yes, what's been done since? Nothing.
Nada.
Nothing.
Do you notice? Did you guys notice where that picture was taken? Did you notice where the picture was taken for that snapshot? It was the only part of the Flint that has occupied stores. They didn't go to where they painted that sidewalk, where there's 5 consecutive empty storefronts and there's virtually an empty diner across the street. They made sure the only part of the Flint that they have a couple of stores occupied, that's where they took the picture. That's what you call propaganda.
Where tax dollars were spent for the storefronts. Where tax dollars were spent for the storefronts.
Yeah, and facades don't fix cities.
That's right.
You're going to put lipstick on a pig. That's what you're doing. You're putting lipstick on the pig. And this is Paul's going to get a lot of traction. You remember, well, CJ and I have been in this for a long time. Jeff, you've been in it for a while now. You notice that every time there's an election and they think somebody's in trouble. Remember when the straight reps thought they were in trouble and they'd bring the Speaker of the House down? Finneran used to come to the thing and say a few words. Oh, look how great our state rep is. The Speaker of the House came down to the party. It's politics, people. It's optics. It's BS. This is nothing more than out and out propaganda. It's just pure propaganda. And you look at that picture, and I'm going to pull it up again. CJ disappeared here. I don't know what happened here.
Last month, 2 weeks earlier, another couple trades were canceled due to staffing issues. We caught up with some first-time riders Monday to get their thoughts.
I feel like it is a concern if you want a reliable form of transportation. And I'm a little nervous if they cancel my train ride home tonight, but I guess we'll figure it out.
I had heard about that. I'm not super concerned because, again, we're a little bit more flexible. So if, this one train gets canceled, we have to wait an hour, then we get doing that. So, but that's all right.
Now, federal regulations require a set number of crew members who have been qualified for the specific route to be on board in order to operate a train. If an assigned crew member calls out sick and isn't able to be replaced, the train cannot operate. But New Bedford Mayor John Mitchell tells 12 News in a statement, quote, "With a new service of this magnitude, a disruption like this shouldn't happen again. We have reached out to the MBTA, who have conveyed that they are treating the mistake with appropriate urgency." Here in Fall River, Mayor Paul Coogan's office tells us they too have raised the issue to the highest level with the MBTA. And while interruptions can be frustrating, the overarching sentiment from riders is that they are just grateful that the line is finally up and running.
Anytime you're setting
a rationalization. A rationalization. They're just happy it's running. It's running like shit. It's not our time, but they're happy. And Paul, you notice that Mayor Mitchell in New Bedford said this should not happen. You know what Paul Coogan said? We're going to go to Boston and kiss their ass.
Yes, he does.
And here's the picture. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, because the screen is too. But this is the part of the Flint. But they're in the only part of they're in a part of the Flint that, and they went into one of the places that's actually prospering, into the store. They don't go to the empty storefronts. Let them walk up to where they painted the crosswalk and take the pictures of all those empty stores from Eastern Avenue and Pleasant all the way down almost to the restaurant, virtually all empty. No, they won't do that. Of course they're not going to do that. Yeah, well, we all voted no. I think everybody on here voted no on a train.
Well, a while back, yeah.
You know, you hate to say it, but Hitler, Adolf, or Goebbels, you know, both of them have received credit. I think it was Adolf that really, Goebbels just repeated it because he was his campaign, he was his propaganda minister. But the reality is you tell people a big enough lie often enough, but this is what they get. You know, this is what they get. I don't know if you put that up there. I took it down. I don't know.
I keep taking it down because it's been up for so long.
Well, we don't care. It's worthwhile because we're the people that voted no, and we are loving it. Let's rub it in. But
hey, I got a message from the Borg on YouTube. WSAR, We Suck at Radio, caller, earlier on the Jamie Terrell show, said that she thinks We Suck at Radio coddles Mayor Coogan. I thought Jamie was about to hang up on the caller, but allowed her to finish her point. But I guarantee that his finger was on the hang-up button. Of course it was.
Well, the chief, the former chief called in.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know that this is what they got. It's propaganda media, and this is the problem with this country, but the people saw through it. The people of the United States saw through it. They voted for Trump because he took it to the people and said, I care about you. These people don't care. I was disgusted yesterday watching news coverage again on the mainstream media because they were all talking about how they were going to bring back that person who was
wrongfully deported.
Yep. And they said who, but they didn't. You know, but they implied that was mistakenly. That was the word they used. Let me set the record clear for the mainstream media, NBC, CBS, and this is he was not mistakenly deported. He was deported to El Salvador because he's from El Salvador, but they brought him back because they wanted him. They're gonna re-deport him. He is a Tren de Agua criminal, but they don't want him sent back to El Salvador because a rival gang is going to kill him if he goes to the prison. So I don't care about that. The fact is, this is the media. He was mistakenly deported. He was not mistakenly deported. For the record, he's a criminal. He's a criminal. He's a gang member, and he was deported on proper grounds.
And his wife and child are standing there saying, he's not a member of the gang. He was illegally deported. He needs to be brought home.
Yeah. And the Trump administration's already said they're going to bring him back, retry him, prove again for the second time, and ship his ass to some other country.
People don't understand.
Yeah, well,
People don't understand. And they need to start to understand that just because you don't like what the president is doing, or what the Congress is doing, or what the city council is doing, okay, doesn't mean they're wrong. Imagine that. They might not be wrong. And then for you to challenge every decision these people are making in court, you're wasting taxpayer dollars. I had better places to spend my money. It's that simple. And spending it on defense, depending on whether or not Trump had the right to ship somebody overseas, or he has the right to withhold money. Now Harvard professors are going to file a lawsuit against Trump for cutting off their federal funding. Too bad. You've got enough money in your trust accounts. Use that.
Yeah. Let's take a close look at what the Democrats are fighting for. They want to bring the criminals back to the United States. They want to open the borders again. And they're fighting against cutting waste in the government. So those are not 80-20 issues. Those are like 95-5 issues that they're on the 5 side. I mean, these people, they're just totally nuts.
Yeah. Hey, we got another comment here from
Harvard's got more endowments and money than you can imagine. And
but they were upset because they have to start spending it.
Why do these colleges? Why do these elite colleges? Because they're all liberals and they're in and they give money back to these politicians. Why do they all get money from the federal government? They all have hundreds of millions of dollars in their coffers. There's no reason Harvard needs money. They got hundreds of millions of dollars. Brown, they all got them. You name an Ivy League school, they got money up the wazoo. These people are just, but they're on the dole. This is what they want. But the Democrats.
I got a comment here. From YouTube, from Stevie V, from the Borg. Garvin called in and that he had asked Coogan for a one-on-one meeting with him. Coogan said he was going to call him to set up a time, but he never contacted Garvin. Garvin called again. Coogan then said he was advised not to speak with him.
Yeah, he said that.
Isn't it amazing? Well, I'm going to set up a meeting with you. Oh, I've been advised not to talk to you. What do I have? The plague?
Well, that's the Paul Coogan method. We know that. But how does Paul Coogan operate? I'm going to go to the affordable housing meeting at the Flint and tell everybody there they don't have a right to speak. You don't own a house. You live in public housing. You don't live in a Flint. Shut up. I'm here to talk about affordable housing, but nobody can talk. He started that meeting. You remember that, Jeff?
I remember.
He started that meeting by saying, I don't want to hear anything negative. Well, that's why you go to it, to hear somebody else's opinion. But not Paul. Not Paul. Petulant Paul.
Fishy.
Oh, no kidding, was fishy and suspicious.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think we saw about those guns, the way they fashioned that narrative on the guns, and then we found out those weapons were legal. They were there was one antique gun, two guns that were legally registered. The individual who gave them to the former chief had a legal gun license, and he gave it to him. Yeah, the Coug. Yeah, it was this. Yeah.
Now, Michelle,
That's his
for
version.
all the voters to remember that come election day. Maybe if we're lucky, he won't make it out of the primary.
And just think of how little, you talk about people, your friends. You should follow the law and do what's right anyway, regardless. But Paul Coogan, for his own political gain, threw someone under the bus whose wife was his campaign manager. So what does that tell you about Paul Coogan? He will do anything and sacrifice anybody for his own personal gain. Period. That guy thought Paul Coogan was his friend, but he doesn't know Paul Coogan. All he had to do, former chief, you should have looked at what happened some years ago when his brother became fire chief and jumped half of the fire department, couldn't pass a captain's exam, and he lasted 13 days. He used his position to get himself a job. Paul Coogan is the same way. His welfare and the friends of his rich and the welfare of his rich friends takes precedent over anybody. You could not trust Paul Coogan as far as you could throw the government center. It's that simple.
No, there's no question about it. I mean, and we see this every day. Every day. I don't know how many of you read The Weekend Flush. I hope you did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, it was good.
You're going to see it getting more and more crass. You're going to see me coming out with more and more information, more and more allegations, more and more accusations about what Paul Coogan is doing, what Paul Hart is not doing, what Brad Kilby is not doing, what Cliff Ponte is doing, what Linda Pereira is doing, the ass that Andrew Raposo's kissing. These are the things you're going to have to hear about. And you may get upset with me, but guess what? I don't care. Not only are many of these things my opinion, the majority of them are facts. The majority are facts. People have forgotten who they represent. Sorry, Andrew, you don't represent Furtado. You don't represent Paul Coogan. You represent the people of Fall River. Not one person, not two, the majority. And as far as I'm concerned, people shouldn't vote for you for re-election because you've been nothing but a political kiss ass for the past year. I've lost all respect for you. All respect. And you doing things with the kids and going to the church and going to the buddy making things. Those are all fun things. But that's not what you're doing for me. It's not what you're doing for me. And to top it all off, if you watched any of the videos from 99 South Main and you saw Paul trying to make a basket, he was dropping shit all over the place. Maybe he's getting Parkinson's. I don't know.
Well, listen, if everybody goes back to that video, that last council meeting, it is clear that this city, our representatives do not represent. I mean, some of the things that were said when Laura Washington implied that the former chief shouldn't be in the council chamber. It is a public city council meeting. That is the people's house. It's not her house. It's not it's our house. They are
Technically,
elected to be
Laura
our
Sampson should have
representatives.
opened her mouth. Technically, Laura Sampson should have opened her mouth. She was in an ethical quandary. I don't care that she disclosed it. If you or a member of your family will benefit financially or otherwise, you got to keep your mouth shut. As a matter of fact, you should be recusing yourself from the room and leaving until the matter is completed. But she doesn't understand that because I disclosed it.
Yeah, well, and sometimes they use that for cover in the opposite direction, because we've had people say, well, I can't talk about it because I might benefit. But like, if you're a benefit, like if you're a retiree, theoretically, if you frame it, the ethics committee would say you could talk, just like Linda said she couldn't talk about retirement stuff. She can if it's something that's going to affect all the retirees. She's just part of that group. There are conditions, as you well know, CJ, in the ethics law that allow them, for the ethics commission, and they do it very often, to say, okay, you're allowed to talk on this subject, even though you are,
but I have more respect for Linda because she's not going to take a chance.
Well, she did it probably so she wouldn't have to, but the fact is that you got to respect them all, because if there's even, because you and I both have taken the ethics course. I have to take it on a regular basis. Just the perception of impropriety should be enough to have you keep your mouth shut.
The FBI on the cooking. Yeah.
Okay, that one. Now we're going to put this one up. Yeah, well, problem is that we got a lot of things going on in this city, but there's only one way to clean house in this city. That's clean house of our elected officials.
True.
These people are not doing the job.
Hey, Steve's busy today with making comments on YouTube. Chip is right. Coogan has more than $45,000 for his campaign. Carlos has less than $2,000. He's gonna vilify Carlos to the hilt to discredit him. I only wish Garvin was at the meeting and sat right next to Furtado. I think that would have been great too. But I'll tell you right now, Colin's watching the show, but I'll tell you, they had to cancel a school committee meeting because they couldn't get a quorum. What the hell are you people paid for? You were elected and you're paid to be there. Unless you're dead, dying, or in a coma, you don't have an excuse.
Because they know when they're going to meet. It's not like that was a special meeting called out of the clear blue sky.
No, it's just the same. I go through this all the time when Linda says, can we move the meeting because I got to go on vacation that week?
Freddie, when was the police chief removed from civil service under the Carlton Viveris administration? All the department heads were removed under the Carlton Viveris administration except the fire chief. And he wasn't removed because I was the president of that union and I fought the city. So the only chief that remained a civil service chief of all the major of the departments was the fire department. And then Coogan's brother made sure he became the first contract chief, and he only lasted 13 days. So those positions have been out a very, very long time. My letter is still available on the article I wrote in the Herald News about why we should have a civil service police and fire chief, because then in order to terminate them, you would have to go through chapter 31, sections 41 through 45 and prove that they did something wrong, not just do something you didn't like as the mayor. This is why all public safety departments should be civil service, because a chief can stand up and do something for the good of the city, the community they represent, and not worry about getting his contract renewed, because he can tell the mayor to say, take me to discipline, prove what I did. And that happened in Boston when Leo Stapleton, I've told the story, when Leo Stapleton, they were cutting massive amounts of Boston firefighters, the mayor, Stapleton called a press conference as the fire commissioner of Boston Fire Department and said, we're not going to go into buildings anymore. Wherever there's a fire that's going to burn to the ground, you're going to take it off the tax rolls, because we don't have the manpower to fight it, and we're not going to jeopardize the safety of the men. They put the men back on, but then a few years later, they stopped. They changed the rules, so you wouldn't need to be a chief officer in Boston for 10 years in order to become a commissioner. And they hired some naval officer so he would do what the mayor told him. So this is what politics is. Who allows it? The people allow it. The people should have risen up and fought. And that's what we have to do in this next election.
It's that time.
Exactly. Yep. I do think it's time.
Yeah, I lived through those removals, that they removed everybody but our chief. And then our chief only stayed out of civil service a short time, because after the debauchery that Mike Coogan created, they put it back in civil service.
Well,
but you look, it's you know.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Jeff.
No, because David brought up the Christopher Basket thing recently, and I guess over the weekend, a bunch of trolls was making negative comments on the police and all that crap, and then likes to threaten his business. And I'm like, you know something? I may not agree with this active cheap right now, but at least I don't support threatening or hating cops. I support cops. People like them are like to be trolls and wants to harass people. I draw the line on that. Okay.
Why? I did not support having all our police officers there. I don't support having our police officer out supporting not the event, the person. Okay.
Right.
Chris's husband is running for city council. As I was told by a viewer, who's going to talk? Chris or Nate? Are they going to have to put another seat in? Because Chris does a lot of speaking. He really does. And his heart's in the right place. The problem is his lips are in the wrong place. We see
I'm not arguing on that.
We see how connected he is to Paul Coogan. Okay? He tries to make Paul look good at every chance he gets. I want to know, and I'm sorry, this is a serious question. What benefit is he deriving from his affiliation with Paul Coogan and now with the Fall River Police Department? What benefit?
Well, he's saying it's none.
He said, I had a conversation with him about all of this. He said he had no political aspirations. He had no desire to be in public office. He was not supporting candidates, nothing. But over the past year, since that conversation, I'm seeing political support. And as a matter of fact, that same caller turned around and told me, I'm telling everybody not to vote for Nate because they're up the mayor's ass. And you have to understand, once you make yourself a public figure, everything's on the table.
That's right.
Everything's on the table. And we've learned that ourselves numerous times, and we've been so just devastated, suicidal even.
Well, unless they have a massive ego, they don't need to run for political office, because some people are very satisfied with just supporting Paul Coogan and talking how great he is while they get rich and they get a lot of little deals, tips and everything else. And this is the problem. It's the Fall River is made up of not people like this. Kudos to him as a successful businessman so far. But I know a lot of successful businessmen who got there from very, very, very dark places. A lot of dark money. And they got rich on it. A lot of good deals. We all remember plots that people got $1 million for when they sold it, that was sold to them for $1.
I remember that one.
2 of them, actually.
Yep.
And then another one being sold for $500 that was sold for a few million.
Yep.
Well, yeah, it's easy to become rich when you get deals like that. But they had inside information, just like they do on a federal level. You know, look, they're successful. Fall River's about the other 85,000 people. That's the problem. The people, the regular people in Fall River with the $31,000 per capita income are getting crapped all over by these people. They don't care. It's just like Hollywood movie stars. They don't care that people are living in the streets, defecating, dying of drug overdoses in San Francisco. They're living in their mansions. They don't care. They do not care. Yeah, of course, people who are getting rich with Paul Coogan. What has he done for the average person in Fall River? What has he done? The per capita income in Fall River has been stagnant for almost a decade. It's barely moved. It's less than half.
It's getting worse.
The family income, household income, is fundamentally stagnant. He's done nothing. He promised tax it that decreases. He promised to be transparent. He's done absolutely nothing for the everyday citizen in the city of Fall River. And I'll challenge anybody to show me something he's done that's really had an impact on the lives of an average working man in Fall River, unless the average working man was up his butt and then he gave him a nice job somewhere, like some of them are going to get. That's the problem. Therein lies the problem. The problem is they are an elite class. We have an elite class in Fall River. They're not Hollywood stars, but they're rock stars in Fall River. All of them parading up Pleasant Street. I'd like to see, let's make public how much the Fiolas make. They're always yelling about Trump.
Better. How much are they worth?
That's right.
How much are they worth? Not how much they're making, because that's public record for Carol. For Kenny, it's not. But how much are they worth?
But she still had her real estate business?
Right.
Yep.
All right, so that's the part.
How did Ken Fiola pull that building out of the fire when it was in foreclosure? He couldn't afford to pay the mortgage on it. Oh, wait a minute. That's right. Paul came in and bailed them out. Isn't it nice to have a godfather like that?
Yeah. Wasn't when he was put out on his own and Jazel booted him.
Right.
He was on the verge of bankruptcy. As soon as the Cougs got in, it's happy days are here again.
Yes, Steve. Chris Peckham has drawn papers to run for city council. I think maybe he regretted not taking the seat when it became available when Trot Lee resigned. I know he's having a collection event, signature collection event, over the next couple of days. And I hope he gets back in because he fought for the people. He fought for the people.
Yeah, no. He really stood up to Coogan and went nose to nose with him. And about a lot of issues, about the Coffee Road killing, about a whole bunch of issues, about how the ARPA money was handled. That was a biggie, the ARPA money. And no, listen, we don't agree with everything everybody does. We don't agree with everything we do. But Paul Chris, like Michelle Dion, went nose to nose with Paul. There would, and the thing is, and he made very, very valid points on all of those issues. The opera money, I mean, they tried everything to minimize what he was saying, but he made a lot of sense and he had a lot of facts and figures. So,
yeah.
Well,
and he didn't like
I'll
the
say
fact
this.
that the opera money was being handled by a secret committee with secret meetings that nobody could get the information about because it wasn't public records, because they were an advisory committee. They advised the mayor. The mayor knows how to circumvent the law. He does it every chance he can get. Every chance. I put up right now for any candidate running for mayor or city council to hire a private investigator and put a tail on Paul Coogan to find out where he truly lives. Because that empty house with the automated timers doesn't cut it. Doesn't cut it. I've got family in that neighborhood. Chip knows people in that neighborhood, and they never see him there except once in a blue moon to mow the grass. I don't even think he takes trash out there.
That's a very good point. I never checked for bills. one load a year.
Yeah. That little pile of shit.
We're going, we're hitting a lot of good points here, but what's the bottom line here? We need to elect people like Chris Peckham, like Michelle Dion, like Colin Byers, like Kevin Aguirre to these positions. We can't have these rubber stamps because this is why this city maintains its malaise. It's always in a funk. You can't get out of your own way. Now, like I said, they walk up Pleasant Street. They pick the best part of Pleasant Street. So what are they going to rehab in that fancy? They went in an office with a nice, clean office with nice office furniture. What are they going to do for that place? It's successful. Why don't you walk around and show them all the empty buildings, point to them and say, this is how I'm going to fix this. And it's not by putting a facade on the front of the building.
How about the buildings losing their roofs? Yeah. How about the buildings where brick is falling off the building and they put up chicken wire fencing?
Yeah.
What about buildings? And don't get me wrong, what Chris Ferreira did for the Flint in painting windows and putting up posters and whatnot, great idea, great thing moving forward. What did it get you?
Nothing.
How many businesses went into the Flint because of that?
Listen,
it's just putting lipstick on a pig.
Yeah, well, something, that's a lot of lipstick, and those things you can say that it's nice. It may be nice. It's artistry, and it's nice that the person has talent. But the place where there's a whole lot of murals?
Where?
East LA.
That's right.
Yeah.
And look at East
LA.
Yeah.
Yep.
Murals don't fix anything.
That's right. But according to Paul, it does, because we're putting them all over our schools.
Yeah, well look.
And that's we put up with tax dollars.
This may be the only city that's got a mural on a crosswalk.
Being put up with tax dollars.
Yeah, well, true.
Hey, Steve over here on YouTube is asking, did you see Gretchen Whitmer hiding behind her blue binders when she went to speak with Trump? Yep, I did. Yeah. That was your political faux pas of the decade.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
well,
between
Witless Whitmer, the one who pretended she was going to be kidnapped, and it was another Jessie Slamette.
The problem with her is she's caught in two worlds. She's the governor, so she's got to advocate for money and services for her state, and she's a Democrat. And is she going to run for president? Is she going to do it? We don't know. We don't know what her political career is going to look like. But she's trying to hide that she's kissing ass to get what she needs. A lot of people kissing ass lately.
Well, but that's the Democratic way. They're hypocrites. Listen, it's like California. They want all the aid they want, yet they will not turn criminals over. That's going to go to court. They're refusing to turn illegal criminals over to ICE. They're making it as difficult as possible because they want the money. Give me the money, like Harvard. Harvard wants the money, but we're going to turn out a bunch of radical fanatics instead of students. And I mean, let's face it, the American educational system's a disaster. It's a disaster. So,
yeah.
I mean,
no, because I'm so sick of winning.
It is. It's crazy. It's crazy. They're so, but this is political time. Just everybody pay attention. All of a sudden, Carol Fiola appears with the Boston delegation. It's like the old days when somebody was in trouble. All of a sudden, Finneran would be down here. If they were in the House of Reps, and if he was in the Senate, the president of the Senate would show up. CJ and I have seen this a million times. Anytime there's an election and they think they're going to lose one of their rubber stamps, they come down here and pretend like these people are important to them. They're not important. They're just yes men. With Tommy Finneran ruled that House of Representatives with an iron hand. He actually single-handedly stopped the Patriots from getting a new stadium. The governor wanted it. Everybody wanted it. Finneran said no. It was no. See you later. That's power. Only because we give it to them. And
that's right.
We can take it away. And we can take it away.
And we have to take it away
this November.
And we have to take it away. And it's time that we take it away.
That's right. That's right. And you notice how quiet it's gotten on the Gorvin scene now. All of a sudden, everything. Oh, we're going to go by the process, which is too late. But everything's gotten really, really eerily quiet.
I honestly do not believe for a moment that you're going to see any allegations come out of our department. And that's the problem. I don't think that any police officer is going to be a snitch. And we've seen this when we look at cases where we have police officers in jail now. Nobody knew anything until they got fingered. And as soon as they got fingered, all of a sudden they knew everything. But they knew nothing before that. Self-preservation. I'm not saying that we have a totally corrupt police department. But people tend to try to preserve themselves. And that's where we're at. But for Laura to turn around and say, I can't believe that this political body won't support this candidate for chief with the entire department out here.
Well, as Kadeem said, half of them were there because they had to be, maybe more. But I think to get back to the original statement before about liking police and Jeff's statement, we support police. We don't support bad police, bad firefighter, bad anything, bad teachers, bad anything. But listen, the statement was made at that meeting when they walked out of that meeting that said it all. One police officer said to the other police officer, somebody said, what do you think of this? He said, it doesn't make any difference to me because I'm going to go out on the street again tomorrow. They're going to put their gun and put their badge on, put on their holsters and go out there and protect the city. And the majority of police officers do that every day and they're not recognized with it. And anybody that thinks we don't like police because we're saying that this stuff shouldn't happen, we're advocating for police, because having a situation where you're afraid to do anything because of retaliation, and we know that we've gone.
As was said by Sean Cadine,
Copen's gone through police chiefs like babies go through diapers. So this is a disservice to those guys who put on, and those men and women who put on, a vest and strap on a gun and go out there and protect our city.
no, like I said, it is what it is. And,
right.
I have several friends on the department. I have a great deal of respect for them. And I know that they respect their badge and their brotherhood. But not everyone is perfect. So it happens.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Looks like we lost Jeff.
Jeff's phone
Right
went dead.
Right at the perfect time. Because I know by now you must be tweaking.
There he's back. He's back.
Sorry about that.
You're right. We can't listen. This is a service when any department, police, fire, of course, they're public safety, so it's important. But when these departments are in total chaos, like these departments seem to be in, I mean, this is going to be a world's record. Can somebody find me out there a city that went through 4 chiefs? In a time we have. I mean, it's like, as soon as Coogan got in, the guy who said, what did he say? Correct me if I'm wrong. Did he say he was going to be a stabilizing influence? Yeah, he is about as stable as nitroglycerin.
Well, Steve says this, and we'll close on this. Steve says Coogan is like Gavin Newsom, trying to act like he cares and become more moderate on issues, but in reality is a snake in the grass. And with that, I have to agree. I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great evening.
Wow. I made it through.